Leadership Academies, Teacher Rubric, Domain 2, Social Emotional Learning Teaching Practices. This professional learning experience encourages you to learn, grow, inspire, and transform. What? What is social emotional learning teaching practices? These components include scholar centered discipline, positive teaching language, responsibility and choice, warmth and support, classroom discipline, competence building, self assessment, and reflection that provides balanced instruction. How? How do social emotional learning and teaching practices, how do we implement that? The social emotional educator effectively invites scholar voice into establishing class rules and expectations, strategies to monitor their own behaviors and emotions, and acknowledges specific positive behaviors. This educator facilitates scholar reflection about behaviors, social skills, and work habits in order to help scholars make connections between their choices and the consequences. The teacher demonstrates an appreciation for every individual scholar by creating a safe space to make mistakes. As a result, scholars value listening, respond appropriately to redirection, and communicates effectively when expressing their point of view. One way that educators can foster this is to support the diverse needs of scholars. In our network, typically it's for our new educators, we provide a trauma toolkit, tools to support the learning and development of scholars experiencing childhood and adolescent trauma. This is a resource and a tool that we provide for every educator in order to support the most current research and trauma informed instruction. We also provide teaching children from poverty and trauma, understanding that poverty is a form of trauma, and there's a lot of elements that can occur and a lot of considerations that effective educators need to know in order to better support scholars. For example, in each of these resources, there's some common themes about research, about trauma, and as well as poverty. And the one thing that Domain 2 supports in our teacher rubric is that it is important to build positive relationships, to create a safe atmosphere, to give scholars a sense of voice and control, to teach emotional skills, to notice and embrace a scholar behavior, not to just be quick to say it's good behavior versus bad behavior, right? And a scholar is really only between those two things, but helping to really ask and to really understand that all behavior is communication. And so our goal should be to really understand what are our scholars communicating within their behavior. And that's our goal, not to label it bad, but to focus on what's being communicated so that we can support what the need is in that moment. Trauma informed teaching includes a lot of different layers and a lot of different elements. Some of the things that we constantly reinforce in our network is making sure that every classroom, every educator knows that you are responsible for having calm down strategies, helping scholars learn how to breathe. A lot of times we're able to accomplish this during our morning meetings where scholars can really express what's on their mind. It's a post check at the beginning of the day to see where their mood is, helping encouraging scholars to help one another remain in a pleasant space or to move from an unpleasant space to a pleasant space. So that occurs through building relationships, having number 12, encouraging a sense of belonging. It says, remember our classroom rules. We don't let anyone eat lunch alone. Positively phrased, we always ensure that everyone has a lunch buddy, someone to talk to. When you look at number 1, it says having a consistent agenda. Unpredictability is not the friend of traumatized scholars. Number 2, private praise. Right? Scholars with low self concept and low social anxiety are particularly uncomfortable with public praise. Instead, give a thumbs up or a positive note on a sticky note. This might be a high five, a power clap where it's just one clap. Everyone makes one clap at the same time. Number 3, classroom design. Classes should be organized, not overstimulating, use natural lighting, and warm neutral colors. So these are things that are important for trauma-informed teaching. Number four, two-step transitions. Make transitions more palatable. Go from recess to 2 minutes of coloring to the spelling quiz. And we know in this day and age, we don't really give spelling quizzes. However, the goal is to have a seamless transition, but to embed a 1 minute, 2 minute strategy that will help uh, ease some of the anxiety between moving between different activities. The intermediate, and that step gives non compliant scholars some behavioral momentum. It allows them to reset their mind and their bodies to be prepared to go into that next academic task. Um, for example, he's already sitting down quiet with pen in hand, so we can go right into our next activity. Number five, save classroom. So hold regular meetings to encourage positive classroom culture. Point out examples of students being helpful to their peers. And then I will move to number nine, recognize strengths to offset negative thinking. Point out areas of competence. For example, wow, you're so good at being patient. You would be a great coder in the future. Or you would be, really encouraging scholars to know that these skills are positive traits, character traits, and skill sets. Number 10, avoid confrontations. Scholars with PTSD can respond to adults with defiance when confronted in the presence of peers. Make behavior requests private and gentle. For example, a teacher noted that when a scholar with PTSD walks into her classroom with his hood on, she simply moves into his eye line and silently mimics the motion of taking off the hood as opposed to making it this loud announcement. Number 11, ID signs of trauma. Scholars reflect trauma differently, but there are some common indicators: extreme shyness, disproportionate reactions to setbacks, extreme anger, excessive crying, clinginess, difficulty transitioning, forgetfulness, frequent complaints of feeling sick, difficulty focusing, lack of safety awareness, missed deadlines, apathy and lack of effort, perfectionist tendencies, physical and or verbal aggression. Again, all of these are things that are signs of trauma. And so our goal is not to judge it as bad or good, or to even say what's wrong with you as a non-example. It's what's happening. What's happening right now. Um, Scholars may not know what they need, so it's really important for us to be attentive and to be aware. And the last one is number 12, encourage belonging. For example, remember our classroom rule: everyone should have a buddy, everyone should have a turn and talk partner. So, using collaborative activities in the classroom helps to create that sense of community, give those social skills, creates that I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, we are a community. And when all of us is successful, when one of us is successful, we all are. So, supporting one another is okay and an expectation. All right. So we kind of went in depth already with the how, but let's talk about how social emotional learning teaching practices, what they might look like, feel like, and sound like in the classroom, right? We pretty much unpacked a lot of that just now, but the social emotional professional facilitates in depth discussions, appropriately scaffolds to differentiate from various academic levels, and encourages peer to peer feedback. Misconceptions are utilized to guide instruction, correct mistakes, confirm the learning goals, and provide feedback that reinforces real world experiences, application, and problem solving. Well, that seems huge. Well, in practice, we definitely encourage culturally responsive teaching. Why? Because culturally responsive teaching is all about what was just described. It is a socially emotional approach. It is teaching the whole child. It is taking into account the many layers of our scholars' identity soup, their experience soup, their and all of the layers of that would make up their lives. And so the first is identity and achievement. So culturally responsive teachers transform education by um, from traditional to responsive by respecting and adopting multiple cultures and experiences and recognizing strengths and accomplishments. We here at PLA absolutely want to make sure we do that. We want to so that's helping with their identity development, their cultural heritage and diversity, and allowing them to know that they are multi-layered, and that's okay. Equity and excellence. Culturally responsive teachers support and facilitate learning opportunities, provide individual attention and encouragement, enable and empower learning, and cultivate cultural sustainability. Meaning, this is a teacher who's aware of their own dispositions. They really push toward inclusiveness. And so we all have strengths, we have those superpowers, and we have areas of growth. So this is a highly reflective teacher who is aware of who they are and really supports that inclusiveness of all scholars in the classroom. Developmental appropriateness. So this teacher encourages and engages in multiple teaching and learning styles through the integration of multifaceted scaffolding and communication styles that and including a multitude of subjects and pathways to access content. And so it's the listening, speaking, the reading, writing, it's touching, feeling it, moving around, exploring it, having design challenges. It's doing a lot of different things to really foster multiple learning styles and teaching styles as well. Teaching the whole child. So this educator is an educator that's committed to learning beyond the confines of standardized curriculum by integrating sources that reflect the students and the scholars in the room in their classrooms, thus bridging the home, school, and community. So you're going to see in our rubric in domain 2 that this is largely encouraged, right? How are you as an educator going to support our scholars making connections um, to their day to day lives, their home life, their school life, and their community life? And then lastly, the culturally responsive teacher really encourages and fosters high expectations for their scholars and are not only concerned with the well being of the child in school, but also empowers them to achieve success in the outside world. This is a caring teacher. This is what Rita Pearson, the woman in red, has given the most famous TED talk regarding every child needs a champion. And so this is what it means to be caring. Not just I'm concerned for your trauma, I'm concerned for your socioeconomic status and any challenges that come along with that. Concern is one thing, but to care means you have high expectations, high academic expectations, high behavioral expectations, and you're going to coach, support, and really help to our scholars to grow and to reach and achieve success inside our school walls as well as outside. So that's empowering our scholars, and this all aligns with our 5 core values here at PLA. Indicator 2.1, student centered discipline. These are some guiding questions for indicator 2.1 now that we break down domain 2. Now, domain 2 is infused with trauma informed care practices, it's infused with culturally responsive practices and the research there. And so now we're going to break down the components. So, student centered discipline. These are questions that we as educators must ask ourselves to see how well we're doing in our classrooms and school wide in these areas. Does the teacher implement classroom rules that reflect scholar voice? Who had a voice and a choice in creating the classroom rules? Did your scholars? Are scholars equipped to self regulate behaviors and emotions? So anyone should be able to enter your classroom and ask you that. Are your scholars equipped to self-regulate? Do they know when they're in the red zone of the mood meter? Do they know how to get themselves to the green zone? From high energy that's unpleasant to calm, low energy that is pleasant. And if the question is no, what is your role in that? And so, some of the things that we really encourage through new teacher programs, mentoring programs, just reinforcing the research is the I wish activity. At the beginning of the year, it's powerful to be able to ask your scholars an I wish. It's as simple as giving them an index card, and in that index card, asking them really two words, I wish dot dot dot, and see what they put down. What's something that they wish? If they were given one wish, what would they want to What would they want their teacher to know about them, right? And these are just some examples here on the screen. I wish my teacher knew that I get really stressed when she or he is upset and addresses the whole class in a loud voice. So this scholar is letting us know that volume matters. Volume matters. When the teacher raises their voice, it moves them into really an anxiety mode or a stress mode. And there are three different types of stress, but it's not the good stress, and it's not eustress, and it's not just stress. A lot of times they're saying that you move me into distress, and distress is that toxic stress that leads to a traumatic PTSD moment, and so we want to be mindful of that. I wish my teacher knew that I needed him to tell me it's going to be okay. I wish my teacher knew I feel anxious at school. So school isn't this safe place. School isn't a space where I feel calm and comfortable, right? And so it's not really accurate or appropriate to assume that school is a safe space for everyone just because we use the word safe. I wish my teacher knew that I don't have anyone to help me with my homework. This is a scholar that essentially is saying that I'm on my own. I wish my teacher knew that I have other classes to be concerned about. That's a big one. Sometimes, especially secondary teachers, have a reputation of only really considering their class. And sometimes, if they load on the work, are they considering the entire workload that that scholar has? So, in a really brave space classroom environment, this scholar can say, hey, just so you know, we have 3 or 4 tests tomorrow. At some point someone's class is going to go neglected because we can't all study for 4 tests, major tests, right? And so that helps schools to create environments where, hey, only certain content areas are assessing on certain days to lower stress levels of our scholars. And then last one, I wish my teacher knew I like to talk at school because at home no one really listens to me. So this is a scholar that, wow, I'm being punished for talking too much in class, but this is the only time that really I have an audience. So some ways to create a brave space community agreement, because again, in research, it's shown that we say safe space, but what is really safe? Are we in control of really creating a safe space for every scholar? That's a big undertaking to have, but we can create a brave space, a space with scholars. If you're not comfortable or you don't feel safe, at least you can say, and you can say why, and you can give input as to how we can make this space more brave, how to make it more comfortable for all scholars. So these are just some examples of things that scholars mention when we're establishing our classroom and clear expectations. One is by entering this classroom space, I agree. So coming up with agreements, right? To put relationships first, to use my classmates' names and or preferred pronouns, to take turns speaking and share talk time. Welcome diverse viewpoints, to listen to understand others first, not to respond. To use calm down strategies or to give myself a timeout when I'm upset. Some of the below the line behaviors that are deemed unsafe, that makes the space toxic and non-inclusive, include confusing me with another student in a classroom, long lectures, that's about teacher talk time, assuming that we, i.e. scholars, don't know or understand or can't do something. So that can be very minimizing to our scholars when there's that assumption. Name calling, rumors, gossip, profanity, complaining and blaming me for someone else's behavior. Ooh, that's a big one. So these are just some of the things that scholars have mentioned in years past, that they're below the line behaviors versus the above the line behaviors. So we want to be intentional with behaviors that are respectful, honest, responsible, and brave. The below the line behaviors include those impulsive things, things that really make the classroom unsafe, toxic, and non-inclusive. Some of the things that we can do in this component to really encourage that is having a calm down corner. Some people call it the peace corner, and there are other names as well. But this includes a comfy chair that scholars can sit in. It may have some pillows, sensory items like bubbles, clay, or fidgets. Bubbles help our scholars regulate their breathing. Clay or fidgets helps with that tactile touch for scholars that need to touch something or need textures that can be calming. Writing materials for reflection. It could be a mandala. Maybe they need to color. They need to do those, those pops, those bubble things. breathing strategies, and refocusing exercise. So even tracking with your eyes, outlining shapes and things like that. Calm Down Corner resources and tools also include maybe a binder where scholars can go through a variety of breathing exercise. There's square breathing, there's triangle breathing, there's five finger breathing, there's elephant breathing, there's bubble breathing. So there's the 478 breathing for anxiety. And so maybe you want to have a binder that has tons of regulation tools and calm down strategies that our scholars can build their capacity to have. This is an example of a benefit of having a peace corner.
What were y'all discussing?
Nothing.
I've seen a lot of my kids this year, instead of just like exploding and getting really upset, they are aware of their emotions. And before lashing out, they will be like, okay, I need to go to the Peace Corner.
At Fall Hamilton, we have students who are currently experiencing some serious tragedy in their lives. When they walk through the door, they don't leave everything at the door. They bring it with them.
Do you need to take a break? Yeah?
So we're trying to build the capacity for them to be able to know what to do when they're frustrated or when they're angry. So we're using Peace Corners.
There is a Peace Corner in every classroom. That is a place that a student can go if they need a break, if they just need a timeout, they're having a hard time. There's going to be some comfy pillows or a bean bag. There'll be some fidgets, different things to help de-escalate that student.
If I get really frustrated and feel like I'm gonna yell, or get mad at somebody, I go to the Peace Corner and just calm down.
We set a 5-minute timer, so they know that they have 5 minutes to kind of cool down. If it's really bad and they need some extra time, I said they can flip it again and take their time.
My teacher has this sheet that you fill out. It tells you how you feel, what choice you made, and what should you do to make it better next time.
And there's also going to be some charts that talk about breathing or counting or different things the student can do to de-escalate in the moment. And at the end of that time, it's time to reintegrate with the rest of the students.
Every kid uses it, so it's not a place of stigma. It's a place that we allow students to utilize the strategies that we're teaching them.
Ready to go? I've seen a huge shift in just behavior. There's not as many outbursts, there's not as many arguments, because they've realized their emotions, they're understanding them, and they're able to make that decision to go sit down at the Peace Corner.
Wonderful. And so this is a great example and idea for us to really implement in our classroom. It's as simple as having a binder, having a clipboard with worksheets, and a comfy chair, and allotting a specific area in the classroom to have that Peace Corner. And of course, we want to have stipulations there, right? And making sure that our scholars really understand the rationale and how you use the corner. Maybe it's a timer. Maybe there's a timer over there to ensure that a scholar doesn't opt to sit over there the whole day, right? And so there's a lot of different activities. Some things in for calm down strategies, we want to model for our scholars. First 9 weeks or the first term of the year, we really want to ensure that our scholars are developing a big bank or toolkit of strategies when they do have a traumatic event or a trigger that comes up, using a 5-4-3-2-1 coping technique. This is used by therapists to help traumatized individuals connect to the present moment through their senses in times of acute stress. And so it helps them to calm and refocus. So naming 5 things that they see in the room. This is helping them to again refocus, right? To come back to the present day. Because when you're triggered, you essentially are speaking in that moment. You see yourself in that moment. That you have time travel back to the place where something similar to what's occurring, what you believe to be occurring now, happened. And our scholars often are saying what they wish they would have said, or they couldn't say to that person or do in that moment, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a strategy to bring them back, to refocus. The next one is a calm down strategy during a traumatic event. So this is a 4-7-8 breathing technique, and it's infused with a visualization technique as well. This is used by therapists to help decrease anxiety and stress. So inhaling for 4 seconds, you hold the air for 7, you slowly exhale for 8 seconds until all of the air has left your lungs. The visualization technique can include, while doing this step, relax your shoulders, muscles, and think of a calming/positive place, smell, and person in a person's voice or face that's relaxing to you. So picture that person that really means a lot, and that is a face of calm and peace in your world. So these are just 2 strategies. Also, in reflection, in the video, we saw that there was a worksheet specifically that educator used. We want to also consider the following: reflect and commit, right? Name one thing that you will stop doing, keep doing, or do differently. So this is just a short reflection, right? In that moment, man, what do I want to stop doing? Okay. Maybe, what do I want to keep doing? Maybe you're proud. What are you proud of yourself for doing? And what do you want to keep? What strategy do you want to keep and maintain? And then lastly, what are some things you want to do differently? And this can establish some social, emotional goals for that scholar as well. So that's indicator 1. Ooh, we're almost there. 2.2, teacher language. Does the teacher use positive language that affirms and encourages the desired behavior? Do scholars use positive language and modifies their behavior? Okay, and so is it impactful? Is the teacher's language one that really helps scholars to feel affirmed, that encourages the behavior? Are we focusing more on the misbehavior than the desired behavior? That's huge, because if we focus more on the misbehavior, scholars, we're really communicating. We're communicating that we value the misbehavior more than the desired behavior, because that's where we're focusing our attention. And do scholars use positive language as well? Are we the only one that's affirming? Are we the only one that motivates? Are we the only one that praises? If so, that's a challenge. And so we want to start with changing our language. So we want to positively phrase things. Ask yourself, how many negated words are used in a day? Right? If you had to erase all of the following words from your vocabulary, how would you reframe what you're saying and how you're communicating to people on a day-to-day basis? So what if the word don't, won't, can't, or do not, will not, cannot, but, however, always, and every time? If these words were erased from your vocabulary, how would you restate the statements that you're using in the classroom? So 1, we want all educators here at PLA to make sure that we're positively phrasing things. Positively phrasing is not just sugarcoating things and no, but it is focusing on the desired behavior. It's, I acknowledge and respect your feelings. It's, you're the only one walking in your shoes. I am committed to listen and learn, right? You can count on me to support you. How can I support you in this moment? What are your needs? Really asking open-ended questions. Sometimes scholars may not know their needs, but at least they'll feel respected, heard, and seen because you at least asked them. They had choice. You're empowering them to have a voice. What more can you share to help me understand? So sometimes we're not aware of what's happening, right? But we'll say, hey, what's happening right now? What more can you share to help me understand if I'm not really clear about what's happening right now? Would you be open to partner in creating a communication plan for the 2 of us? So this is the teacher that may be at conflict with the scholar, and we're really, our communication back and forth, we're really not on the same page. So how do, again, eliciting the scholar to be a partner in that process. If it's difficult to put into words what's happening right now, could you explain your feelings or the situation in another way? For example, art, can you draw what's happening? What do you feel like on the inside? The scholar may use certain colors that let you know that they're probably in the red zone. They may draw fire. They may use dark colors, so we just don't know. But ask them, hey, what song right now kind of represents where you're what you're feeling. Where are you on the mood meter? Giving them an emoji feedback response sheet, just like we saw in the video earlier. And are your feelings, concerns, reactions, and or responses and concerns related to a situation at home? So is this connected to home? Is this connected to school? Does this situation involve family, friends, or non-friends? So these are some things to really support conversation. We are a Crisis Prevention Institute licensed organization, and so this is they have a lot of different strategies about how to set limits for scholars. So we don't just allow scholars to fly off the handle, but at the same time, we're not really in control of their responses, but we do have influence. We have strong influence. So if we were to first shift and change our words, right? Remove those negated words. We're going to positively phrase things. So speak to the desired behavior we want. So let's say a person refuses to complete classwork. What we want to do is say, hey, after your work is done, you'll have 5 minutes. You'll have 5 minutes to work on a different activity or a more preferred activity. We're not going to say free time, but we will say a preferred activity, right? Negative limit setting is if you don't finish your work, then you won't have any free time, right? And we know that we don't have any free time. What we do is we have academic focus time. We have we do have some brain breaks and things like that. But this is another one. Take off your hat. Let's say if a person refuses to take off their hat, what should we do? It says, would you like to put the hat on in your room or in the drawer? Would you like to put the hat inside of your desk, or would you like me to put, or would you like it inside of my desk? Really just giving them some choices about where they would want the hat. But either way, the goal is to remove the hat, right? As opposed to saying, if you don't take your hat off, you'll go to the main office. That's a threat. That's not limit setting. That's really threatening the scholar, giving them no choice at all. Dressing out for PE. When you dress for physical education, you will receive participation points, meaning it's setting you up for success, as opposed to if you don't dress out for physical education, then you're going to fail. Okay, well, we want to point them in the right direction. What's the desired behavior? We don't want them to fail, so why would we even mention that? We want to say, hey, we want to set you up for success. So please dress out for PE so that you can receive your points. So these are just some examples, and these are ways for us to practice as a school when it comes to how our words matter. Also, one way to foster scholar-to-scholar affirmations and affirming is really just having informal shout outs and allowing scholars to really praise each other and create that.
Front table shout outs.
I have a shout out for Analia. She got to work really fast.
A shout out is a positive comment given from one peer to another. Shout outs are such an effective strategy for anyone, and you can throw them in anywhere. They're easy, they're quick. The first thing is a ding on my little chime, which gets everyone's attention.
I see almost everybody.
I will ask each group to give a shout out to someone that they noticed was doing a particularly good job or doing something that was difficult for them.
I have a shout out for Dan Alex because she was working really hard on her chicken.
Awesome.
It's not just me as the teacher saying, you're doing well. It's a way for them to interact with each other and celebrate positivity. We notice, we focus on the things that are going well.
I have a shout out to Jamari because he was reading good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So scholar-to-scholar affirmations, encouragement, shout outs, positive feedback, it is huge. It is almost more valuable than the teacher giving that affirmation. So we have to remember that. Some of our scholars being affirmed by adults, well, that can be a wonderful experience. But for some of our scholars, it means even more to them to be affirmed and noticed and seen by their peers. And so this builds that positive classroom environment. It goes back to, man, how I can feel socially and emotionally safe in that classroom. And so that is something that, again, we have to work hard to do for it to be authentic and genuine. As our Gen Zers and our Generation Alpha, they are huge in really picking up on authenticity. So they'll let you know if they believe you're genuine and you're authentic and giving positive feedback and praise. And so component 2.3 is responsibility and choice. Yes. Does the teacher facilitate scholar ability to solve problems in multiple ways? Do we facilitate that? We have to curate that. We have to create that. Okay. Do scholars hold themselves and others accountable? Or do we allow them to opt out? Do their peers just allow them to opt out, right? Or you don't know it, I know it, let me say it. No. Do the scholars encourage their peers do they push them to say, hey, you can do this? All right. Does scholar input reflect their connection between choices and consequences? And so we'll see that. Can they make those connections? All right. And these are some ways to do that. So if there's a conflict, how are scholars really expressing where they are with that? Are they holding each other accountable? Are they standing around encouraging two scholars to be at war or conflict with one another? Or are they saying, look, we're better than this? All right. And you guys need to talk this through instead of trying to fight it out. Here we go. This is an example of what that might look, feel, and sounds like.
I appreciate y'all coming and have a conversation.
There's a lot we do within the building to create spaces that are conducive for de-escalation. Kids are able to remove themselves from a negative situation, process what has caused the crisis, and make different choices about how to move forward.
Sometimes it's not the easiest thing in the world to tell a kid, I know all this is happening to you, I know all of this is going on, but I want you to learn. And so we are giving them a space and a context to process some of that emotion, to de-escalate, and then transition back to class.
Many of our classrooms have what we call de-escalation spaces. So there'll be a beanbag in the corner or a curtain that allows you to step away, just something that creates a little bit of separation for kids that the teacher recognizes need that, or the student.
Hi, how are you? Students come to me, I greet them, and then I just give them alone time. And because they don't associate the space necessarily with academics, it's easier for them to utilize it outside of the classroom and recognize it as a safe space. For myself, when my emotions are high, it's best to calm down before I begin to try to communicate.
It's giving us the time to cool down, do the coloring. It gives me an opportunity to be like, okay, yeah, taking this breath, I can talk now without trying to cry. Just letting us do that makes it better.
So then they'll begin to kind of share and open up about really what's bothering them. How was that?
It wasn't good.
We really try to teach our kids how to be resilient, how to utilize resources, and take care of themselves.
Okay, so these are some things and strategies that we see schools across the globe utilizing. Again, coloring, using art as a means to express or to calm down. A lot of the things that we had as educators when we were younger, sometimes we put those things in the back burner, but coloring is very therapeutic. Art, really being able to take our mind and to redirect it and to give us that time in that space. Now, what happens when there's conflict? Like, I'm really angry at another peer. I'm really angry at my coworker. I'm really upset about something, right? There's also a peer mediation process as well. How can we get scholars who are at conflict to really share their emotions, really share issues? How can they settle them in a peaceful manner? This is a huge skill that our culture and climate leaders in our schools, that they are really our gurus at this, that restorative justice, that conflict resolution, peer mediation, really being able to pull and bring scholars together to be able to do that. Not as, leaders who, we call them in when we want scholars to be punished. Or we want punitive measures. No. And so let's look at this culture and climate leader here.
We have another space where our counselor is located.
All right, so you go talk first, and when you get done, you go talk, okay?
Who does real-time conflict resolution.
I didn't want to tell you who to hang with.
We can't expect people to just get along. We have to show them what getting along looks like.
You have an issue with a teacher, with another student, they come in my room, and we have a conversation like, hey, what happened? Today I had two students, they've been friends for about 2 or 3 years. They had a big old fight with another boy, and We stopped him from outside and brought him in. Yeah, both strong young men.
What is going to happen is knowing how I contributed to the conflict, right? And how to respond to you with empathy.
I wasn't solving it out the right way, so I should have communicated better.
We come to the table and say, hey, it ain't about you. It's about respect each other.
We took it upon ourselves to go have a conversation with the other gentleman that was arguing, and then that's when we got everything solved.
When we have de-escalation spaces where we're teaching them to manage themselves, then we make it so that they can be successful anywhere. Saying just power through or white knuckle through something is not a strategy. When you say, I see you, I recognize you, and I'm gonna teach you how to take that moment to walk away, recenter, and come back and do what you need to do, that's actually teaching resilience and grit.
When I just feel like I'm not doing something right, and I just need a moment.
All right, so conflict resolution, peer mediation, giving our scholars the tools to really empower themselves to know that, wow, they can really support and really be a part of their own process. That's really empowering them. Component 2.4 discusses warmth and support. In that last video, every educator in that video, you can tell they approach that process with warmth and support, because the scholars, they have that confidence. They're coming to them to say, hey, we have a conflict that we want to be able to resolve, and we need your help. We need your support, right? So in order to do that, we as educators, we need to have a warmth approach. And so does a teacher foster an inclusive environment, right? Do the scholars believe that their voice has the same weight as their peers? And when coming to you, or do you show that you have favorites? Is the learning space safe for diverse groups? Is there evidence of risk-taking and support for diverse peer groups? And so with this component, we want to focus on our ELL scholars as one group. We have a lot of different populations in our school, but are you as a teacher aware if you have ELL scholars that are represented, and there's different countries, and not even just your ELL scholars, but we have tons of different nationalities, ethnicities, scholars that identify in different ways. So are we really embracing that? Scholars who may have traveled here, or may, maybe they're multi-ethnic. And so are you aware of what languages and dialects are even represented in our school versus in your classroom? And so that's a huge area, is language, and really being able to focus on that. Do an equity audit in your classroom. Has a as our school, do we have a clear mission that is committed to equitable access, processes, treatments, and outcomes for all scholars, regardless of their race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, national origin, English language status, English learner status, sex, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, religion, or disability status? Essentially, all of those things are on the diversity wheel. So do we have a clear mission that we're committed to these equitable practices? Number 2, do we provide an inclusive visual environment, both digitally, so that's online, all right, and within our materials? Do they see themselves in the classroom, in the material, in the content that we're picking? And then number 4, there's one that says it works in partnership with families. So do we work in partnership with families, the business community, the local business community, and civic and community organizations to enrich the curriculum? Provides consistently high expectations. We don't want to lower standards for our ELL scholars. We want to make sure that our scholars have powerful access to learning. For example, word walls are just one for some of our language classrooms, right? Are we open to having multiple languages there? So you'll see in some of these word walls, there's Arabic, there's Spanish, depending on the region of these schools, or there's English and Spanish as well. And so really just embracing some other languages as well, that our scholars might say, oh, in English, this means this, but giving them a chance to just say, hey, just, in my native language, this is how we would say that. Even being a world language teacher, you'll see that you have a scholar from Spain, a scholar from the Caribbean, a scholar from South America. All 3 use very different vocabulary words for socks, or for a car versus a baby stroller versus a bus, and transportation vocabulary. And so it's largely cultural. And then scholar engagement. Are we allowing for the lap boards or dry erase boards so that our scholars, when I don't have the language, can I draw a picture to represent this is where I am in my learning and this is how I'm following. And so dry erase boards are really helpful for scholars who are multilingual. And then this is a teacher self-reflection form for ELL learners. And so as an educator, we can say, do I give opportunities for ELL scholars to use English in a natural way while working on a project or activity? Do I use lots of gestures, visuals, and graphic organizers when explaining skills or concepts? And do I specifically pinpoint and teach the academic language these scholars need to know in order to complete an assignment or project? So are we intentional about teaching the vocabulary so that they understand what they're being asked to do? And do I recognize cultural and experiential differences? When feasible, include these in units and examples. So again, if they're, hey, in South America, we use that word, but it means something completely different. And taking those moments to really have those discussions and to really help to expand what we know. So this is just a short little self-reflection that educators can use. Indicator 2.5, classroom discussion. Does the teacher foster in-depth discussions and skills? Listening, responding, points of view? Do scholars utilize listening, paraphrasing, clarifying, and questioning skills? Let's see what this might look like. In this classroom, the teacher will facilitate guided discourse for a math lesson. Let's see how scholars are paraphrasing, listening, and really grappling with the content.
I need your help and evaluation because Ms. Rodriguez and I saw 2 common answers for flag 1. So for flag 1, we have the black, white, and gray. And I wrote in gray since I don't have a gray marker. Say that's okay. That's okay. So I did that for each one. So for black, we saw a lot of one part's black. For white, 1 part white. And for gray, 1 part gray. Back in star. And then also saw for black, 1/3 black, 1/3 white, and 1/3 gray. Back in star. I see a lot of evaluation already. I want to know which one do you agree with, the one, we'll call it option 1 on this side, or option 2 on this side. I'm looking to see who has great mathematical explanation in their turn and talk. Turn and talk. Let's quickly poll. Who agrees with option 1? Who agrees with option 2? Then someone talk to me. Who wants to talk to me? Who wants to talk? Alicia, get it started.
I think option 2 is right because option 2 says 1/3 and 1/3 is 1 part of 3. And I agree it's 1 part of 3. And I agree because it's because we need 1 part, and I disagree with number 1 because number 1 doesn't make any sense because we don't know how much are you taking it from.
Who would like to talk to me about option 1? Because she said option 2 is correct. Who wants to talk to me about why they think option 1 is not correct? You did, yeah?
Option 1 is not correct because if you count how many parts are on the flag, you will have 3 parts. And in option 1, the person just put 1 on each part, and there was no denominator in their fraction.
Say good teamwork.
Good teamwork.
So here we see scholars grappling with the content. You see fellow classmates listening. They're starting to give thumbs up, like they're agreeing with what the speaker is saying. They're tracking the speaker. They're really being patient while the speaker is really formulating their thoughts and their opinions. So great way of helping to guide scholars through questioning, discussions, and discourse. Competence building. These are some guiding questions we would ask ourselves. Does the teacher use a variety of resources to help scholars, 1, understand a new skill, 2, correct mistakes, or 3, provide feedback? So what can we do as educators to make sure we use a variety of resources? We help scholars understand a new skill. How can we make it real in their world currently today? How can we help them correct mistakes? In the previous videos, we saw where the teacher was going through some math-guided discourse and helped scholars to correct any mistakes, or to, when looking at 2 different ways to solve this problem, which one they would agree is the best approach. And then providing feedback, allowing scholars to really be able to know that it's okay to disagree. And it's okay to provide other options for coming up with the solutions. And so again, do scholars use resources and feedback to improve academic skills? So what are the resources we have available to provide our scholars? Do they know that they have those resources available to them? And is their voice a powerful resource in our academic lessons? Here's from an educational guru, and I love this approach. She talks about modeling. And sometimes we'll say, oh, well, I'll model it for scholars, but it's important for us to really start to praise and appreciate thinking. Instead of rewarding accuracy only, right? Really, the priority should be to really reward thinking and the sharing of our thought processes. And so let's listen to this educator who really is big on seeing it, naming it, and making sure that scholars can see it, but they can also name it.
If I was teaching a kid how to shoot a free throw, I could just model it. Okay, yeah, your form. Woo, we got to work on this. Let me show you. Okay, so you get to the free throw line, and this is a free throw. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. Got it? Okay, I'm modeling it. You getting it? Got it? Good. Your turn. Okay, nothing's really going to change about his thinking or his ability to do it. Let me switch that. This is a think aloud. Okay, so we're going to learn how to shoot a free throw. So the first thing I do when I come to the line is I look down. I'm right-handed, my right foot slightly in front of my left. That's not really obvious, but that is what's happening. Here's definitely what's not obvious. I'm leaning forward. You can't see that. Let me tell you, I'm leaning forward. I'm on the balls of my feet. I'm leaning forward. Now, let me tell you where I'm looking, because you can't tell. No, I'm not looking at the rim. You look at the rim and you're going to hit the rim. You don't look at the rim. You look up and over behind the rim. That's where I'm looking. All right, so I'm leaning forward. My knees are flexed. I'm looking up and over behind the rim. Now I'm just hold the ball. You don't need to spin it. You don't need to do it. Just hold the ball. All right? Hold the ball. I'm looking up and over the rim. I'm looking up and over the rim. I'm leaning forward. Now here's what I'm saying to myself. I'm thinking up, 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 snap. Up, 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 snap. Up, 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 snap. That's what I'm doing. Up, 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 snap. Okay, now I want you to do this. I want you to talk me through what you're thinking as you do it. That's a think aloud. Just doing one, just showing them how to put 2 sentences together, how to insert a transition. How did you know which transition? How did you know we needed a transition? How did you get there? All this buzz about growth mindset, we got to replace their thoughts with the thoughts of the expert.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. A think aloud. Again, our goal as educators, we don't just want them to see it. We want them to name it. We want them to be able to list their thought processes. If we don't have access to that, we're missing a huge piece of the learning process, right? Are we encouraging scholars to just be glorified recorders, right? They regurgitate and repeat what we're saying. No, that is the lowest level of Webb's depth of knowledge, is reciting and recall. We want them to be able to speak through the process, because that's how they get to the critical thinking, the problem solving, and the higher levels in that process. And so our next component and indicator is 2.7, self-assessment and self-reflection. Again, we want them to be able to speak with their mouths through self-assessment or self-reflection. We want them to be able to demonstrate with their hands and their feet, right, what they know. So that self-assessment piece, it could be through self-reflection. It could be the assessment piece. There's multiple ways to assess, multiple ways to facilitate self-reflection. And so these are some guiding questions. Does the teacher provide opportunities for reflection aligned to the academic goals and the social goals? Do scholars monitor their learning, relate tasks to academic goals, and seek assistance when needed? Are scholars encouraged to seek assistance when they need to? Is there a culture or an atmosphere in that room that I'm less than because I need support? Right? What's the culture that's set there? Relate tasks to academic goals. Can I connect this fun activity we're doing to really the academic goal? Or is it just fun? Right? Can scholars articulate that? If they're not connecting these great exercises and activities to the academic goal, then we really missed the mark. And let's look and see what this might look like. For example, this is a social SEL strategy. We have the rose, thorn, and bud check-in, check-out process. It could be used for something more than just check-in or check-out. It could be used for morning meeting, right? Just to see where your scholars are. What is a rose? If they can't think about a rose, anything positive about that day, that can be challenging. That means at this point, maybe I'm only seeing the negative, right? So we want them to be able to identify that there's always something positive that they can focus on. It's hard to look at this picture and not really focus on the rose, just to see the thorns and just to see the buds that may be around. So again, this is an example of building community, giving scholars individual voice. We could use this with parents and families as well. Hey, tell me a rose about today. What's something that's it provides that beautiful view, insight, or experience. It has a fresh and positive fragrance to it. What's a thorn? What's something that's pricking you today? Something that's causing pain or concern. And then lastly, a bud. What's something that we're looking forward to? It's not in full bloom yet, but we can anticipate it. And because of that, it can be something that we're excited about. So this is just an exercise or reflection, self-reflection that can be done in our classroom, one-on-one with scholars, in a morning meeting setting or advisory setting where we're having a student group. It could be used as an activity. It can be used for social purposes. It can also be used for academic purposes. What was a positive rose moment in this lesson? What's a thorn about this skill that we're learning, right? And what's a bud? What are you looking forward to? Maybe I'm looking forward to fractions becoming easier. Something like that. So this is just one strategy, rose, bud, and thorn. This is another one to foster appreciation, affirmation, but also a way to get the scholars moving. And this could be academic. This does not have to be a social skill. So we're going to see that this educator uses it for an academic goal. It's a part of the academic goal, but it also satisfies a social goal. We have male scholars here, males that need to move very frequently and not a lot of sit and gets. And so this really supports a social goal and an academic goal as well. Here we go. So, and you could use this with pop quizzes. You can give them 5 questions. They quiz, they put their name on it. You can do this snowball activity where it mixes up all the quizzes. And maybe you have that scholar is going to operate in integrity and just put the score out of 5 of accuracy, if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for certain things on that the person who gets that snowball can actually grade it. But we're going to see what this activity looks, feels, and sounds like, and how it can facilitate and foster self-assessment and self-reflection.
Gentlemen, what have we learned about stress from the week's discussion?
Today we did an activity in my classroom where we talked about stress.
We're going to do like the snowball activity, okay?
I'm trying to get them to know how to identify stress and then know how to be able to adapt and cope and work with that.
Gentlemen, go ahead and take 1 minute to finish up.
After they wrote down their stress, they balled up the paper. I asked them, what should you do with stress? And they said, get rid of it. So let's get rid of the stress. And we had a snowball fight.
Everybody ready?
Go! The idea is that we're moving around, we're able to have fun, laugh, scream, be loud, and then have that discussion about stress.
Everybody get a snowball.
Afterwards, they unwrapped the snowball and they read what their peer was stressed about.
Who'd like to begin?
I learned that stress can cause many things like depression.
They got up, it was interactive and it was hands-on. They were able to have a conversation with each other about things that they were dealing with.
I haven't felt good about myself in such a long time.
Which is promoting interpersonal skills and learning during the process.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful strategy. And I mean, a snowball toss literally can be 60 seconds of them trying to get the snowballs from one side of the room to the other. You want the least snowballs on your side of the room. It really puts everyone in 60 seconds to really play and have a good time, mix up the snowballs, and then it leads into a great discussion. This is a great power play as an educator, specifically for our male scholars who you need to get that energy out, right? And sometimes if your energy in the classroom is low and we need to really get their brains moving and their bodies need to be moving as well. All right. And so again, great community building strategy, but this can be an academic and a social emotional strategy as well. All right, component 2.8, and our last and final component, balanced instruction. Does the teacher extend thinking through direct instruction and real-world learning tasks? So with what we're doing, the extensions of the thinking, right? How do we challenge our scholars to go beyond just that foundational level of the grade level standard? How can they extend their thinking? How can they relate it to the real world they live in today, right now? Do scholars problem solve with the content in multiple ways? So long gone for the days where we say, well, you're going to need this in 5 years. No, our scholars need to know today. Why do I need this today? And can they connect it to why they need it today? So again, the problem solving piece is huge. It will only be retained in their working memory if it's related to their day-to-day real world today, and if it helps them solve a problem. This is the best gift we can give our scholars. How is this relevant today? And what is this skill useful for? How is it going to help me problem solve? So anytime we have a lesson, our curriculum companies are amazing, right? And a lot of times they know that this is a big issue with really working memory and memory recall. And so again, here we have an example of video-led modeling, right? So what is the task? Who will set it, and all of these different things. So imagine giving our scholars a video, right? A video to first set up, or showing them a picture, or giving them some type of thing to problem solve, and then give them a copy.
Earlier today, each of us ate some pizza. Let's see how much pizza we have left.
My pizza was cut into 2 equal pieces, and I have 1 left. So we can represent this as the fraction 1/2.
My pizza was cut into 4 equal pieces, and I have 2 pieces left. We can represent this as the fraction 2/4.
My pizza was cut into 8 equal pieces, and I have 4 pieces left. We can represent this as the fraction 4/8.
All right, even pausing it right here. Oh my goodness, how many of us have ever had pizza? Maybe we really like pizza. And even if you're not a pizza person, we know that pizza is a huge part of the American dietary experience or eating experience. So pizza is definitely a popular food item. How can we use this, right, to support the standard of extending understanding of fraction, equivalent, and ordering? And so here we have the standard down here. And when we present it to our scholars about, today I can extend my understanding of fraction, equivalent, and ordering. Okay, maybe that's not in scholar-friendly language. Does that really matter to me today? No, but it may matter, right? I can use fraction equivalents when ordering food and different things like that. How do we put it in a real-world term that makes it make sense? And so here we are using visual resources and helping our scholars to take notes and different things. So this is just one example of making it real world relevant and problem solving. So continuing to watch this video, I'm sure it's going to go into how do we solve a problem.
So, who has more pizza left?
We all have the same amount of pizza. Since yours was cut into 2 pieces, there's 1 left. Since this one was cut into 4 pieces, there are 2 left. And this one was cut into 8 pieces, so there are 4 left.
So even though all these fractions have different numerators and denominators, they all represent the same amount of a whole pizza.
Exactly. We call these equivalent fractions, which means they represent the same amount of the whole. The word equivalent means equal.
So since 1/2 equals 2/4, which equals 4/8, we can say they are all equivalent fractions.
You're right. How could you prove that by using this pizza cutter?
If we double the number of slices in April's pizza, we can turn 1/2 into 2/4.
And if we double the number of slices again, we can turn 2/4 into 4/8.
That's right. When we cut them, we didn't change the amount of pizza we have left. We simply changed the number of slices that make up a whole.
Hey kids, if you want to watch this whole episode.
Okay, and so here, scholars were able to see in a real world situation that occurs every day in the pizza making business, right? How do you ensure that the clients are getting the same proportions of pizza, things like that? So equivalent fractions, and so helping them problem solve, right? And so that's really connected right back, circling back around to our culturally responsive teaching, making sure that, again, it is connected to the bridging home, school, and community, and really making it relevant to our scholars' lives daily. Many of them share, right? And so how can we ensure that everyone's getting an equal amount of pizza, right? So turning that into a problem. Hey, we were gifted, our class received 5 pizzas. How can we share all of these 5 pizzas evenly, or equally across all of the students in the classroom? And so things like that. But this is culturally responsive teaching, and it really goes back to how do we connect it to their daily lives, bridging the worlds between school, community, and the classroom. Okay, so this concludes our Domain 2 Social Emotional Learning teaching practices. And so hopefully you gained a lot about this domain, but guess what? There's a lot more. Please visit the Academic Playbook, which is updated at the start of every single school year. Academic team is amazing. And so it has a lot of resources and strategies in there that will reinforce Domain 2 and how your classroom can be a heart-healthy environment for our scholars that really encourages them to be academic risk takers, socially regulated, and supportive of their fellow colleagues. And so hopefully this was informative. We really appreciate you. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to the training team.